Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We just got the latest numbers in for October 2025, and I'm going to be going over what's happening in the Raleigh market in my update like I always do every month. Right now I'm heading down to the Pinehurst area, which is just over an hour from Raleigh. Great place to go down. I'm showing new construction today to some clients, but for those who don't know the area, that is an awesome place to go down for you avid golfers. Tons of golf courses down in what we call the Sand Hills, and that's Whispering Pines, Pinehurst, and the surrounding areas. And today, like I do in every market update, I'm going to be concentrating on the single-family home market and homes that are $750,000 and above in the markets of Raleigh, Cary, Apex, and Holly Springs. If there's a town that you're interested in that I'm not doing the numbers on, comment below with the town, and I'm happy to get those numbers out to you to see what's happening in those suburbs. So I'm going to run through the numbers, and at the end, I'm going to share some key takeaways, emerging trends, and give you some of my personal insights on what I'm seeing as far as the market stats and what it means for both buyers and sellers. And make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to also take a look to see how the recent decrease in interest rates have influenced buyer behavior, and right now how I'm starting to see several of my own clients who have been sitting on the sidelines who are suddenly starting to raise their hand again and starting to look for a new home. Let's start with Apex, where the median home price in October was just over $942,000 in that luxury segment. Days on market is 9 days, which is up about 12%, so really great days on market. Inventory decreased from 200 homes last month to about 100 homes this month. What's interesting is those 100 homes that are on the market this month is actually 60% higher than what we saw last year. So inventory has increased over last year, but still the numbers are relatively low. And then when we look at months of supply, which is another key statistic that we like to look at when we're looking at housing stats, that's sitting at 2.7 months. So still very low when we look at that number. Just to put things in perspective, a balanced market is 4 to 6 months of inventory, and a buyer's market is 6 months or more of inventory. So still trending as a seller's market in Apex. So while the inventory levels are higher than last year in Apex, as I mentioned, they're still relatively low, and prices are still continuing to increase in Apex. We're also seeing that the Apex's luxury segment is in high demand and buyers are getting drawn to that area. And if you're curious to see what homes are actually selling for in Apex right now, send me a quick message. I'm happy to share current closed listings and how much they're selling for off original list price. Next up, let's talk about Cary. And if you watched my update last month, you know that I said that Cary was the #2 real estate market in the entire US based on a study done by Wallet Hub. So when we look at the luxury market in Cary for last month, median home price was $930,000, and that's up about 1.5% over last year. Days on market is about 26 days on the market, and so that's down about 20% from last year. And then when we look at active inventory, which is right around 116 homes, the inventory is up 54% over last year. So still, again, just like in Apex, not a lot of homes in the market in that luxury segment. And that's why months of supply is so low. In Cary, we're seeing months of supply at 2.6 months. It's because the inventory is still relatively low in those markets. And we are still seeing a lot of relocation buyers that are coming to the Cary market. They're coming to relocate here for schools and for jobs. And so Cary continues to be a very popular place for home sales. Next, let's go down to Holly Springs and take a look what's happening in the luxury market down there. The median home price down in Holly Springs came in just around $870,000, and that's down slightly over last year, 2.5%. However, days on the market for the luxury segment in Holly Springs was only 3 days, so homes were selling very quickly in that segment in Holly Springs. And when we look at the active inventory in Holly Springs for the luxury segment, it was up 53%, but there was only 40 homes on the market in that price point. So again, we're seeing low inventory in Holly Springs. That could be fueling some of those other statistics. The months of supply in Holly Springs is 2.5 months, so very similar to what's happening in Cary and Apex. So Holly Springs is continuing to be one of the fastest growing luxury segments in the Triangle. And I think we're starting to see a lot more people choose Holly Springs just because there's a lot of growth happening in Holly Springs. There's a lot of businesses coming to town, so we are starting to see that fuel the residential market. Finally, let's take a look at Raleigh, where the median home price for luxury homes in October was $1,165,000, and that's up almost 6% over last year. Days on the market is about 28 days, and active inventory right now is 378 in that luxury segment. And then if you had watched my market update last month, which you can get it right here if you wanted to go back and take a look at that market update, the months of supply in Raleigh hit 6 months. Now that's changed for this month. It is down to 3.7, so more normal to what we have been seeing over the past several months in Raleigh. So that 6 months of supply that we saw last month could have just been an anomaly that we were seeing for September. So the luxury market in Raleigh is holding steady. Prices are up, inventory has been very stable, and months of supply is starting to balance around that 3 to 4 month range. And here's where we're starting to see where the rate drop really may be having an impact on what's happening in the market. If you've been keeping an eye on the interest rates last week dipped to about 6.1 to 6.2, and that's the lowest we've seen this year and probably even last year. So it really is starting to fuel our area even stronger. We've always had a very strong market here. Even though the last couple of years have been a little slower, our market overall is very healthy. And with regards to those interest rate drops, I think we're going to start to see the market even get a little bit better. We're supposed to get another interest rate decrease by the end of the year. So I think that's going to help fuel things. And we are starting to see buyers who have been sitting on the sidelines starting to think about moving again. In fact, just in the last week, I had 2 clients reach out to me who have been sitting on the sidelines. They were looking this year to do a move up home. They've put a pause on it. And now they've called me and said, hey, you know what? We think this is the right time. Interest rates are starting to make a little bit more sense to us. And they are starting to look and get that process going. So if you're planning to buy or sell in the Raleigh luxury market, this could be the time to start positioning yourself before the spring competition picks up, just like my buyers and sellers are doing. Because I've seen it in the past, as soon as interest rates tick down, demand starts to increase. And that's when we start getting those multiple offers being more common than what we've seen in the last couple of months. So here's just a recap for October. Prices are up year over year in Apex, Cary, and Raleigh. Holly Springs had a small dip, but it's still pretty flat overall. Days on market are still down, and homes are still selling in record time. And inventory is higher than what we saw last year, but it's still relatively low. But it is giving buyers more opportunity and more to select from. And then with interest rates hovering around 6.1 right now, we have some renewed energy from buyers who have stepped aside earlier, and now they're starting to look. So the Raleigh market continues to be strong and balanced and full of opportunity. And it has been always one of the most resilient in the country. And then tie in Cary's #2 national ranking from last month, we have a very strong market. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, call or text me. I'm Trish Day with Day Realty Group, your local luxury expert. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.